Have you ever crossed paths with someone and felt like time itself paused, almost as if the world around you faded, and for a split second, it was just the two of you, like meeting someone your soul already knew? These kinds of encounters aren't ordinary. They don't feel random for the chosen ones. In fact, the deeper you think about it, the harder it becomes to believe they're just coincidences. Many people will walk in and out of your life, and most of those connections will fade without much weight. But then there are those rare moments when someone's presence feels divinely woven into your story. You can't explain it with logic. You can't dismiss it as luck. It feels different, like God Himself had a hand in crossing your paths. Now, here's the part most people miss. When God sets certain people in your life, He doesn't always announce it with a loud sign. Instead, He leaves subtle but undeniable clues for the chosen ones. Patterns that repeat, feelings that can't be ignored, and experiences that stir something deeper inside you. It's like a divine whisper reminding you, pay attention, this connection matters. But here's where the mystery gets even more intriguing. What if the person you keep crossing paths with is actually tethered to your destiny? What if the reason they won't fully fade from your heart is because God hasn't finished writing that chapter yet? In this video, we're going to uncover the unmistakable signs that reveal when someone isn't just part of your past or present, but part of the divine assignment of the chosen ones. These are not generic signs anyone could experience. These are spiritual markers, patterns so clear and powerful that ignoring them would mean missing out on something God intended for you all along. So as we move forward, I want you to think about that one person who lingers in your memory, the one who seems to appear and reappear in ways you can't explain. Hold that thought, because what we're about to explore may just confirm what your spirit already knows but your mind has been questioning. And remember, this isn't about chasing someone or forcing relationships that aren't meant to be. It's about discernment. It's about listening to the gentle nudges of God and learning to recognize when He's moving in your relationships. Because when He orchestrates a connection, it's never by chance. It's always by design. Chosen ones, think about the people you've met throughout your life. Most of them come and go, fading as quickly as they entered. Circumstances change, life moves forward, and contact naturally drifts away. That's normal. But every once in a while, there's someone different. No matter how far apart life seems to pull you, they find their way back. Almost like distance, years, and circumstances don't apply to them. You may try to convince yourself it's random, that bumping into them at the airport or having their name suddenly pop up in a conversation is just a coincidence. But deep down, you know it's more than that. The timing feels too specific, too purposeful. It always seems to happen when you're standing at a crossroads, searching for clarity or struggling through something heavy. And then there they are, the familiar presence that seems to reappear at exactly the moment your spirit is most in need. That's because when God ties a person to your journey, He doesn't let distance erase the assignment. You can move cities, change careers, even lose touch completely. But when the time comes, He'll orchestrate a reconnection, not because you need nostalgia, but because there's purpose in their presence. Sometimes that reconnection looks like a quick message at the perfect moment, reminding chosen ones that they're not alone. Other times, it's a full reunion that changes the direction of your path. Either way, it's not random. It's divine timing at work. And here's what's truly fascinating. These reconnections aren't about romance or comfort. They're about alignment. God sends people back into your life, not to distract you, but to sharpen you, to challenge you, or to guide you through a season you couldn't walk through alone. So, if there's someone who keeps finding their way back into your orbit, even after distance, silence, or years apart, pay close attention. That's not just an old friend or a passing connection. That's a sign of something deeper. A connection that defies distance because God Himself is pulling the strings. But that's only the beginning. Distance may prove the bond, but peace is what confirms the divine alignment. And that brings us to the next sign. In today's world, most relationships come with noise, expectations, drama, comparison, or even just the pressure to perform around others. That's why it's so rare when chosen ones meet someone whose presence feels like rest. They don't just quiet the room, they quiet their souls. It's not about everything being perfect or easy. Life still throws chaos your way. But when you're with this person, your spirit doesn't feel rushed, pressured, or unsettled. Instead, it feels like you've stepped into still waters. Their presence carries a peace that words can't capture. And here's the thing, that kind of peace is spiritual, not emotional. It's not about attraction, thrill, or even surface-level comfort. It's the kind of peace that transcends logic. As a chosen one, you can't explain why you feel so calm around them, but you do. And that's exactly how God confirms alignment, through a peace that surpasses understanding. Think about it this way. Confusion, fear, and tension are not from God. If someone's presence stirs those feelings consistently, it's not a divine connection. But when someone walks into your life, and suddenly your soul exhales, that's when you know something deeper is happening. This peace is God's stamp of approval, His subtle way of telling you, yes, this connection matters. It doesn't mean the relationship is without challenges, but it does mean the foundation is safe, steady, and spiritually aligned. And here's what makes this even more powerful. That peace doesn't fade with time or distance. Even after long gaps apart, when you reconnect with them, the same calmness returns. That's not nostalgia. That's spiritual recognition. Your soul remembers, even when your mind tries to forget. So, if someone in your life makes your spirit feel grounded, safe, and deeply understood, don't overlook that. Peace is rare. And when God uses someone to carry it into your life, it's never by accident. But peace is just one layer. The deeper confirmation comes when this person doesn't just make you feel safe, they also challenge you, stretch you, and help you grow. That's the next sign. Chosen ones. Most of us like to be around people who flatter us, people who only see our strengths and overlook our flaws. That feels good in the moment, but it doesn't actually help us grow. A true divine connection goes much deeper. It doesn't just comfort you, it refines you. This kind of person acts like a mirror. They reflect back not only your strengths, but also the parts of yourself you'd rather keep hidden. Your insecurities, your fears, the unhealed wounds you've buried for years. They don't expose these things to tear you down. They bring them to light so you can finally confront them. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Growth never feels easy. Sometimes being around them stirs emotions you don't fully understand. You may feel challenged, even frustrated at times. Not because they're doing anything wrong, but because they awaken something raw inside you. But don't mistake that tension for harm. That's God using them to shape you. At the same time, they don't just press on your wounds. They also celebrate your victories as if they were their own. They believe in your purpose when you doubt it. They see potential in you that you've forgotten. They call out the best in you, even as they help you face the hardest truths. It's this balance, challenge and encouragement, conviction and comfort, that makes their role in your life so significant. They sharpen you the way iron sharpens iron. They refuse to let you stay stagnant because they see who you're becoming, not just who you are now. So, if there's someone who both inspires you and unsettles you, who feels like both a teacher and a supporter, pay attention. That duality isn't an accident. It's a divine tool for transformation. Through them, God is molding you into a stronger, wiser, more authentic version of yourself. And this is only the beginning. Because if someone challenges your growth, you'll find that even when they're not around, they still linger in your spirit. Sometimes so strongly, their name rises in your prayers before you even realize it. One of the most compelling signs that a connection carries divine weight is timing, and how it always seems impossible to explain. You may not see someone for years, but then suddenly, they reappear at the exact moment you're standing at a crossroad. Or perhaps you've been wrestling with a silent prayer, and just when you're about to give up, they show up with the very words or encouragement you needed. This kind of timing goes beyond coincidence. It's too precise, too intentional. It's as if life itself pauses and rearranges circumstances so your paths cross again. That's why it's so hard to ignore. You, as a chosen one, can dismiss one chance encounter as random. But when it happens repeatedly, especially at life-defining moments, you know there's something greater at work. Here's what makes this fascinating. Divine timing rarely aligns with our schedules. It doesn't arrive when we're comfortable or when it makes the most sense. It arrives when it's necessary. That could mean at a breaking point, a moment of clarity, or even right before a major transition. God's hand is often most visible in the ways He interrupts our expectations with appointments we didn't plan. And what's even more mysterious is how these people often don't even realize the role they're playing. To them, it may feel like an ordinary moment, but to you, their presence lands like an answer. Sometimes even like a miracle. So, if someone's timing in your life has been strangely perfect, again and again, pay attention. Those interruptions aren't random. They are divine signals that the connection has been woven into your path for a purpose bigger than you can see. There are connections in life that feel casual, easy to set aside and forget. And then there are the ones that feel magnetic, a pull you can't explain or dismiss, no matter how much you try. That pull isn't about infatuation or obsession. It's deeper. It's the sense that your spirit recognizes something your mind can't fully articulate. What makes this pull so powerful is that it doesn't fade with time apart. You as chosen ones may try to move on, to focus on other relationships or distractions, but somehow, thoughts of this person return. It's as if your soul is tethered to theirs in a way that distance, silence, or circumstance cannot erase. This kind of attraction is often misunderstood. It's not about physical attraction alone, and it's not about dependency. It's about resonance. Their presence awakens something in you, a sense of purpose, clarity, or even conviction. You may even feel more like yourself around them than you do with anyone else. Of course, it can be confusing. The human instinct is to rationalize it away, to explain it as nostalgia or unfinished emotions. But the truth is, some bonds are spiritual before they are anything else. And when God ties two lives together, that pull is the invisible reminder. So, if you've ever felt this, that undeniable draw towards someone who seems to carry significance you can't explain, don't ignore it. That pull is not ordinary. It's a signal that this connection is part of something far greater than chance. Chosen ones, one thing you need to understand is that not every divine connection feels like comfort. In fact, some of the most important ones arrive through tension, heartbreak, or disappointment. It's easy to believe that pain disqualifies a connection from being meaningful. But often, the opposite is true. When someone plays a divine role in your story, they don't just bring joy, they also bring lessons. And many of those lessons are too sharp to arrive without friction. They may force you to confront weaknesses, to face truths you'd rather avoid, or to release patterns that no longer serve you. At the time, it may feel unbearable, but looking back, you realize those moments shifted you in ways nothing else could have. Here's what makes this so powerful. Divine connections don't just come to comfort you. They come to transform you, And transformation requires breaking, stretching, and rebuilding. Sometimes, the pain they cause is the very tool God uses to refine you into the person you're meant to become. That's why some of the hardest relationships in your life may also have been the most meaningful. Not because they lasted forever, but because they left an imprint you couldn't erase. They awakened strength, wisdom, or resilience that now shapes who you are. So the next time you're tempted to dismiss a painful connection as wasted time, reconsider. Pain itself can be proof of divine purpose. Because when a bond carries lessons that no other experience could teach, it wasn't ordinary. It was sacred, even if it didn't last. Finally, one of the clearest markers of a divine connection is its refusal to fade from memory. Time moves on. People change. New experiences pile up, and yet, this one person remains like an echo in your spirit. They may be physically absent, but their influence continues to shape you. It's not about obsession or refusing to let go. It's about significance. There are some people you, as chosen one, simply cannot forget because their role in your story was never meant to be forgotten. They are a part of your growth, your perspective, and even your identity. This echo can show up in unexpected ways. You might hear a phrase they once said that still guides you, or you may notice that certain decisions you make are influenced by the wisdom they imparted. Even if the connection ended long ago, its impact remains alive, almost as though it's still unfolding. That's the hallmark of a divine bond, its permanence in your spirit. While ordinary relationships fade into the background, these ones continue to echo, because they weren't just written into your past, they were woven into your destiny. So if there's someone who still echoes in your heart years later, don't dismiss it as unfinished business. See it for what it is. Evidence of a bond too significant to vanish. A reminder that God's fingerprints are still present in the memory of that connection. When you as a chosen one look back across your life, certain people stand out, not because they were the loudest or the most visible, but because their presence carried weight beyond explanation. They arrived at just the right time, brought peace you couldn't explain, challenged you into growth, or left an imprint that refuses to fade. These are not ordinary encounters. They are threads in a much larger design. And when you, as a chosen one, start to notice the patterns, the timing, the pull, the lessons, the echoes, you begin to realize that your life has never been random. Every significant connection was a part of the tapestry God has been weaving all along. The truth is, not everyone is meant to stay forever. Some people come as guides, others as mirrors, and some simply as turning points. But whether they stay for a moment or a lifetime, their impact is proof of divine orchestration. So the next time you feel that strange familiarity, that pull you can't explain, or that peace that silences all the noise, don't brush it off. Pay attention. Because what feels like coincidence may actually be a whisper from God, reminding you that your story is bigger than you think, and that every person written into it was placed there with intention. Now here's where I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever met someone who left an imprint on your soul that you couldn't explain? Maybe they reappeared at the perfect moment, or maybe they still echo in your memory, even now. Share your experience in the comments. Not only does it confirm what you felt, but it may encourage someone else watching this who's wrestling with the same questions. In the end, I just want to say that these connections are more than relationships. They are divine markers pointing you back to purpose, back to faith, and back to the understanding that your journey is sacred. And that's a truth worth holding on to.